Good morning. This is Jessica Dumas. Thank you very much for joining me at Insights Inc., my Friday morning interviews. A little bit more about myself. I'm the creator of an online life coaching program for entrepreneurs and business professionals to help them find the right energy to be running their business so their business is not running them. I also have a one-day workshop called Indigenous Insight Seminars where I'm helping to educate as many as possible on some of the current affairs and some of the history affairs of the Indigenous population and the government relationship and why is reconciliation such a big deal. So as a result of that work, I've started connecting with some of the beautiful Indigenous community that I've been so blessed to be connected with and create that network to introduce them to some of the greater community, to people who have actually never met Aboriginal people. So here we are, and making this new environment, this new community to share these amazing stories. So today, I'm very excited to be inviting to join with me Mrs. Destiny Seymour, who is an Indigenous interior designer from Winnipeg. I'm excited to be sharing this opportunity to hear her story because as an Indigenous woman, great stories. The work that she's doing is just amazing. And I've seen her website. It's indigo-arrows.com. So definitely check that out. And Destiny, are you back?
I'm back. There. Okay.
So now on the interview, we have your face enlarged. Welcome to Insights Inc. Thanks for being here. And I was just saying a little bit about the work that you're doing in interior design in Winnipeg. And again, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this because I've seen your website. I've been hearing about some of the work that you've been doing in your business, and I'm inspired and I had to talk to you. So tell us a little bit about you, Destiny.
Well, I'm an interior designer. I'm from Winnipeg. My family is my dad's from Seymourville near Manukautugan, but he's registered with Peguis. So that would be like the St. Peter's, Selkirk area. My mom is from Peguis, and so I'm actually a Peguis band member. I never lived there though. And I'm super excited to be here too. It's kind of strange because I want to stare at the little screen where you are.
Yeah, I know. We'll kind of get used to it. It's a little bit of a funky program, but it's still exciting. I'm at in Ananol area in Manitoba today. So really cool. So you were involved in architecture and some design, and you were looking for Indigenous kind of representation in that area and weren't finding it.
Right. So I did my master's in architecture, interior design at the University of Manitoba. And I actually was very fortunate because in my second year, I was hired by Prairie Architects to help with the Migizi Agamic. That's the Indigenous Student Center at the University of Manitoba. And so that was really exciting because there was about four of us, like 4 Indigenous designers on the team. Awesome. And we were all like under 30, and it was our first project. It was my first like big project. And so I got to work with elders and the staff there and students and find out what it is that they wanted to see in a center and like what would help them succeed. And also like the staff, this was like a big dream come true because they were previously in this little office in a 5th floor of an admin building, and that's where everyone would go. And so now this was their chance to have their own building. So that was my first project. And after that project, Prairie ended up hiring me after I graduated, and I worked with them for 10 years. And during that time, there was a lot of really great projects, daycares. I love working on daycares, especially when it's, that it's going to be like a Indigenous clientele that will be going there and all the kids going there. Mm-hmm. So things like that. So I worked there, and I mean, with any job, you have to do all the not so fun things like drafting all day long at a computer and, things like that. but it helped me. It helped me focus in on like what it is that I wanted to do. It also gave me the skills to, like what I'm doing now, making deadlines and working with clients and working with like not so good clients that, not the nicest people, and how to like get around that. So like, I think, if someone was out there starting off in architecture, I think you got to put in that hard work where you have to do the things that you don't like to do, but it leads to like really great things and great opportunities.
Mm-hmm. So how long were you doing that work before you branched out on your own?
Well, I was doing, so I have 2 little girls, and during my mat leave with my daughters, I was doing little side projects for like Native organizations, moving into a new office space. So I would do their floor plans. I would listen to like what it is that they were looking for. And so I kind of had my own little side thing, like doing that with them, because, I think it's taking the time to listen to people, like what it is that they want. And especially with Indigenous projects, there's a lot of talking. Like you have to like sit and like listen, and it's a lot of listening and then like pulling out what it is that they need. That's what I really like about interior design, because you have to visit a lot. It's a lot of chatting, and so I did that on the side. But then I also noticed there was like, it was so challenging to find Indigenous materials and like finishes to complete projects. So there aren't any like, wallpapers or rugs or fabric that I could put into projects. I would have to design a whole like new flooring, or like I right now I have to use materials that are somewhat Indigenous inspired, but they definitely don't showcase like Manitoba Indigenous cultures. So I guess from there, I told Alan that I'd like to take a night class learning how to silkscreen. So like the very, very basic, how to put a pattern onto paper or fabric. So that's what I did. And I took a beginner class, and it was so fun. Like it was really fun, like to start making again. Cause working for 10 years on a computer, sitting 9 to 5, you kind of lose a little of your inspiration. It feels like you're just like a robot, kind of moving along 9 to 5. Whereas like in the evening, I got to like get messy, play with inks, play with colors. And that's really got me excited. So I took the second class. I took the advanced silkscreen class. And then from there, I just started searching for fabric that I wanted to use. And I chose linen just because it's like, it's beautiful. Like you can wash it, and it's sort of like it's almost like an heirloom where you keep it forever. And so I started with that, and yeah, so now I'm here. But it was a lot of work because it was evening stuff. So it's your everyday job, and then pushing yourself to, do that a little extra bit of learning, and then coming home, and then, you're with your family, your babies, and yeah. So it was a challenge. It was tiring. I mean, I'm still tired. But.
That's so exciting though. I love that story. Like ever since I can remember, when I was younger, I was always asking people, what do you do? And then the answer, the question that was always burning for me to ask afterward was why? Because sometimes people were not happy, right? So then meeting entrepreneurs and meeting people who left that typical 9 to 5, it's a big step. Because I know for myself, there were times where I thought, am I crazy? Like, what is wrong with me? Why ain't I like everyone else? So what was that transition like from, doing all that hard work, working full time, trying to learn this new passion in the evening, and then all of a sudden I'm going to open a business? Like, what was that like?
It was scary. It was so scary. Like it was all I can think of. Like while I was at work, like I was thinking, oh, I would love if I had the day off, I would do this and this and this, or, so like it was consuming me, and I I was just trying to figure out a way, like, how am I going to do this and still, like, you know, because we have a mortgage, you know, you have car payments, you have daycare payments, like, so all those things also balance. Like, I was like, okay, well, I got to be realistic here. But I think once I was able to get all my products, so I didn't quit until I had, like, I knew what my prototypes were. I knew what the pillows, the fabric, made sure the website was ready to go. Like, there's so many things that I didn't realize. Like, you need to order pillow inserts. So, like, okay, well, I got to find a company that makes pillow inserts. Oh, I got to get zippers. Well, where do I get zippers? And I was like, it wasn't simple. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And then labels. Okay. Then I had to find a good label supply maker. Like, where do I get that? And then a seamstress that I could work with, because I did sew all the prototypes myself. I can sew, but not fast. And so, like, like, I would take my time, but like, I'd be sewing all day long. So I had to find someone who, like, was an expert in that area. So I found, like, a couple people that I really liked. And so once all those little things, like, were in place, then I felt comfortable talking to Alan about it and saying, okay, I really want to do this. I took him to a movie, took him to a VIP movie, and bought him a hamburger. And yeah. So I was like, okay.
Sweet him up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do.
Yeah. So he said, okay, let's do it then.
It's awesome to have that support.
Yeah. But what also helped too, though, is, like, it was kind of strange. I put my notice in on a Thursday, and the next day I got an email from the University of Manitoba asking if I would be interested in teaching an architecture class, like an environmental design, for a third-year course.
Yeah.
And so I was like, how did they know that I put my notice in? So it was a nice way to transition out of, like, the full-time job, you know? Yeah. So all of August, I got my product ready. And then September, I started teaching. But I was still able to do both. And then starting January, it was full-time Indigo Arrows. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And you know what? Like, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, and I don't know if that's something that you use in your life or in your business, but that's really what it's about, right? You take that step, and then something else will just reveal itself to you.
Yeah.
So putting in your notice, and then all of a sudden, here's an opportunity. That's incredible. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about, like, when being an entrepreneur now, being a female business owner, an Indigenous business owner, did you think that you would do something like this when you were a kid? Did you always think that you would kind of, you know, be trailblazing the way that you are?
No, I actually thought I was going to be a psychologist. Because my dad, him and I are really close. And so he used to, like, travel across Canada and go to communities and help them with like, really intense issues, substance abuse, you know, suicide prevention. So he would train people in the community to be trainers, so that then they can train their community members. It's like sort of like self-sustaining kind of a training program. Yeah. And so I used to travel with him and go to all these things. And like, ever since I was like 10, go to all these communities. And I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to be like my dad, and then be a psychologist and help people. And I used to run, like, young girls groups and sit with them, and I don't know. And then when I went into university, I went into psychology, and my minor was, I did a double major. I did cultural anthropology. And but I mean, that degree helped me with architecture, because I still I'm able to talk with people to find out what they need, you know, like for interiors, because it's hard for people to say exactly what they need. It takes a little bit of time, and then in order for the interior or the project to be successful, like, you need to take that first step and, like, talk with them. So yeah, no, I didn't know I was going to be in architecture. Like, I I was actually kind of scared to tell my dad that I wasn't going to be a psychologist. And yeah, so
I'm sure he's very proud of you.
yeah, he's happy now.
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so where did culture come in? So you were in architecture, doing some design, you were looking for these fabrics and wallpapers and all the things that didn't exist, but you
Yep.
wanted to include culture in the work that you're doing.
Right.
So what is your hope for having that now? What is your hope for promoting that culture in your business?
So like I said, like I'm close with my dad. And so when I started creating the patterns, it all started when I went to visit a good friend of mine at the museum. And so he was there and I brought him a coffee. He's got 2 little girls as well. And so I went there to see him and we were talking about kids and he says, "Oh, can you just come with me? I have to go to the storage room." And then in the storage room was like shelving, like full of all these different pottery shards. And they were so like 3,000 years old. And so I was looking at all those things and I started sketching them. And I thought like I wasn't even aware of all these amazing patterns that were out there that are so old and that were found here. And so I guess for me, that was like sort of like finally the last little piece of the puzzle, because I was creating like patterns and learning how to make patterns, but I wanted something that was meaningful, and that was also like a teaching tool, and also was something that was from here, like local. And so I started putting them onto paper and then showing my dad and Alan and, close friends. And I think just the reaction that I got from them, like seeing their face, like knowing, like they never saw those kind of patterns before, and knowing like these are local, like Anishinaabe, Cree, Dene, like patterns. It was just really great. And so also like bringing in language, I think is really important, because I'm not fluent in Anishinaabe. I wish I was. My dad is. He'll like, talk to me a little bit in it, but yeah, I that's one thing like I really want to learn, and I think Alan does too, and like we, help try and promote that with our kids. And I think becoming parents and just wanting them to learn that side, like the way they are now, like my 2 daughters, they're so proud. Like they don't even, there's no, like they're not shy about things. And that's what I think is like really interesting. My daughter's in grade 1 and they have topics like history topics, and she'll come home and grab a book and take it the next day. And she'll say, "Oh, I got to give this to my teacher. She was saying stuff about Anishinaabe and I think she was wrong. So I just want to help her." Like, when she's only 6, I'm like, "Oh, okay." And like, it's those treaty books, there's children books. So one of my cousins, she's making those books for the Treaty Relations Commission. Awesome. And so my daughter came home and was grabbing them and taking them to school to share with her teacher.
Oh, that's beautiful. Strong Indigenous woman right there.
Yeah, she wanted to make sure she knew the real deal. So I guess like with my work, like the patterns, they have like meaning and story behind them in history, and the patterns itself, they're all named like using Ojibwe Anishinaabe words. And like there's simple words, like it's, I have the 4 initial patterns. They're just, Bejik, Nish, Nisei, Niswe, Niwin. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all it is. But even just that, I think to me is really important, because then when I see also non-Indigenous people pick up like one of my products, and then they're speaking Anishinaabe because they say the pattern, like, "Oh, I just love this Bejik pattern, I have it in my room," so like then they ask me about that language, and then I'm able to like start that conversation, you know? So, and I think like it's unbelievable like how many non-Indigenous people in Winnipeg are proud to like learn about local patterns and you know, and have that in their home, and or even like I've been sending gifts even to England and to, you know, Halifax and Oklahoma, and you know, so like they're being sent all over the place. And so I think it's a great teaching tool, like just to kind of get that conversation going.
Beautiful. That's fantastic. I love that. And the very basic of the language, right? This is what we want to teach our children. This is what we want to teach all of the people who are interacting with your business. That's incredible. So I like that we went there, because I wanted to ask you, how do you feel that your business is different as an Indigenous female business owner? How is your business different than a non-Aboriginal business where someone else would go to get textiles or pillowcases or other items?
Well, for like, I think the first thing is, so you know how there's Indigenous patterns out there, and a lot of them are used by non-Indigenous people. I think the first thing that's different with what I'm doing is that I let people know where the patterns are coming from. You know, as an Indigenous person, you know, I could have said, oh, I just created this pattern. You know, I just thought it up and this is what I like. But no, that pattern came from this, you know, like a tool or a pot. And, you know, eventually I'd like to include more information on where those patterns are from. Like, so I don't do an exact replica of the pattern. Like it's sort of exaggerated because like the pottery shards are very small. So I have to blow up the pattern and then, you know, but it's very similar. And I think being able to share that story and let people know where they're from, gives that respect, you know, that they deserve, because, you know, if they were able to continue with that art, like it's amazing. Like imagine like the type of pots that we would see today if that was to continue from like 3,000 years ago to like where it would be today. So I don't know, I always think about things like that. And then also like trying to employ people. I think that's another big thing for me. Like keeping it local is important to me. And I work with the two women that I work with are local seamstress, and you know, it keeps the quality high, because I did initially look at going to like a factory, and it's just like it didn't work out. I was very disappointed, and so like I think working with people closely, I can see that they care about like, you know, like, yeah, okay, their tea towels and their pillows. You know, I just want them to know, like, I want it to look really good because I want, you know, people are buying these things, and I want to feel proud selling them. Like, and so, yeah, I think I would say those were some of the key areas that I guess makes me my business different from another. Just like giving that respect, and also like the quality, and then working with local people, you know.
Great. I love it. So, and then also talking about non-Indigenous customers coming into the business and learning about it leads me to reconciliation and kind of where we are at as communities, and where all of Canada is at with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So what does reconciliation mean to you with your business, or you with your family?
For me, it's about education. So like to have people, you know, pick up my product and say, oh, okay, this is Ojibwe. Oh, I didn't know that, you know, this type of pottery was located here 3,000 years ago. And like just being able to start from there, I think my hopes would be that they would want to learn more about that. You know, and I even don't mind sharing, like even when I was teaching that third year environmental design class, like sharing that my mom went to residential school and that my dad didn't. And my dad is very cultural and learned, you know, can speak fluently in Anishinaabe, and like my mom can't. So like those kinds of things, like the effects of that. And, you know, so I think that I'm hoping people will take it upon themselves to educate themselves. And that's what I think, like, this starts like a positive, for me anyways, it starts like a positive conversation with somebody who's non-Indigenous. And then, you know, they'd want to learn more about it. They're seeing the positive, you know, sides of our culture and the beauty and the history of our culture.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. So in some of the work that I do,
Uh-oh.
that they talked about was the growing population, and 15 to 20 years from now, which of course is today, you'll see that population booming in the Indigenous community, where the baby boomer non-Indigenous community will be sort of exiting the workforce. So that's always stayed with me. And so what's most interesting now is that we're in that time. So I started calling this time the Indigenous Renaissance, and I'm doing some speaking presentations coming up in the next little while, and that's what I'm calling it. But I'm so excited that it's really, this population growth is becoming much more evident. And I don't know if you're seeing the same thing, but when I go out to a restaurant or I'm shopping somewhere, like, you're seeing more and more Indigenous people out in our community. And to me, it's another reason why Canada really needs to know that history, right? The government, the education system requires we learn about our history in Canada. So it's up to us now as responsible Canadians to learn that history. But it excites me that it's so evident, and that you see so many Indigenous people now everywhere, more and more, and in better lights. And so, for example, yesterday, one of my friends was taking a bus to work from sort of the north end of the city downtown. And she said that she heard a couple of older women on the bus, and they were speaking their Indigenous language. And so she sent me this text, and I was like glowing. I'm like, beautiful, like, it's happening. So many amazing things are happening.
Yeah.
So I'm so proud of you. If I was with you right now, I would hug you and just encourage you to say you're doing amazing work. Good for you. I'm really proud of you. I know that many people in our community are really proud of you. I want to send a quick shout out to our mutual friend, Daryl Brown, because I remember talking to him like a long time ago, and I'm always doing different projects. And he has said to me many times, you have to connect with Destiny Seymour. She's doing really cool things. So we're excited to be able to meet you this way, and probably out in the community soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem.
Yeah, Daryl Brown, we've worked with him on, like, I try and bring in like a network of professionals. So whenever we have a project, I always try and see if he's available to, like, could provide the furniture and be there, because like he's really involved when he gets like his furniture somewhere. Like, he's there at install. He's always like, yeah, he's great.
Very nice. So Heesick Inc. is the name of his business.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and he's on a billboard now.
I know. I saw it. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. So, okay. So indigo-arrows.com is your website.
Right. Yeah.
And we can find you on Facebook,
Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah. And so also, if you're in Winnipeg tomorrow from 10 to 5, go to the Hut K Art Gallery. The Lucky Girl pop-up is going to be there. And they're there Saturday and Sunday. And there's like amazing local makers. Like, I was so scared when I did my first pop-up.
Yeah.
I almost left. Like, I was setting up, and then I saw all these people setting up, and they're like cool stands and like the way they displayed everything. And I was like, nope, I'm out of here. Nope. I don't, I'm like, what am I trying to do? Like sell stuff here? No. And then my dad was behind me, and he was, it's called the alleyway market. And it's basically like a pop-up shop that is taking over some of the really cool alleys in the Exchange District. I hope they have it this year. Anyways, last summer they had, I think, 3 events. And so I was at the first one, and I brought my dad, and he was pretty grumpy about me setting up in an alley. And I was like, no, Dad, it's art. It's supposed to be artistic and like, you know, the alleyway. And he's like, why would they put you in an alley? And like, he was really funny. Anyway, so I was like, hey, Dad, grab the stuff. Let's get out of here. I don't want to be here. He's like, no, we're here already. So I'm like, oh. So anyways, I'm glad I stayed because I ended up meeting some people at that market, and then I also got really good feedback like about my product, and it helped me for the next ones. And so from September to December, I did 8 pop-ups.
Wow.
And it was so exhausting, but it was like worth it because I basically just threw myself in there and said, okay, this table setup's not working. Next time I'll do this. You know, this doesn't really sell. I'm going to do this. And so it's kind of good to be scared once in a while and then just throw yourself in there. You learn so much. You meet amazing people. So like this weekend, there's going to be over 100 makers, and it's split over 2 days. I'm in the first day, so Saturday. And then it's just amazing. Like I think it's a growing thing now that people are taking it upon themselves to create these like amazing products, whether it's pottery, you know, like furniture. So yeah, pretty excited.
Excellent. And so what's the name of that event?
It's called Lucky Girl.
Lucky Girl. Okay,
yeah, it's all one word. It's on Instagram. And then the next one is also a big one. May 6th is the Third and Bird Spring Market. So you can find them on Instagram as well, Third and Bird. And that's going to be in the basement of the Hudson Bay building downtown. Oh, and so it used to be Zeller's. And yeah, so there's going to be, I think, 100 of us there as well. So,
awesome. Excellent. Well, I want to connect with you again really soon. We'll go for coffee and meet in person. But thanks so much for doing this, and have a great day. I know you have lots of work stuff to get to. Yes. So good job, and keep up the amazing work.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.